live alone. So when my security app sent me a clip of my own voice talking inside my apartment while I was at work, I thought it was a glitch, until the voice said something I had never said before. I'm not really into paranormal stuff. I work a normal 9 to 5, come home, eat, scroll my phone, sleep. Nothing weird. Nothing unusual. The only thing I did differently was install a cheap indoor security camera in my living room. My landlord had mentioned a break-in last year, and I didn't want to take chances. At first it felt pointless. The app would send random motion alerts, mostly just curtains moving or lighting changes. I stopped paying attention to them until last Tuesday. It started at 2:18 p.m. I was sitting at work when my phone buzzed. Motion detected in living room. I opened the app casually, expecting nothing. The camera showed my living room empty. The couch, the table, the hallway, everything normal. Then the audio started. Footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps. Coming from the hallway. I turned my volume up. The camera still showed nothing. But the sound was clear. Someone was walking inside my apartment. My first thought was simple. Maybe I forgot to lock the door. Maybe someone broke in. Then I heard it. A voice. My voice. Did you lock the door? I froze. I replayed the clip. Same voice and same tone. Same way I speak. But I was sitting at work, miles away. I checked the live feed again. Nothing. Just an empty room. But something felt wrong. Like the room wasn't actually empty. Then, movement. A shadow in the hallway. Something stepped forward. And I saw it. Me, standing in my own apartment. Wearing the same clothes I had on. Black hoodie, jeans. But I was wearing those clothes right now. At work. The figure stepped into the living room slowly. It didn't rush. It didn't look confused. It just stood there. Then it tilted its head, like it was listening. And then it spoke again. You forgot something. I muted the app. I couldn't listen anymore. My hands were shaking. I didn't think. I just left work early. The entire drive home, I kept checking the camera. No movement. No alerts. Nothing. When I reached my apartment, I didn't go inside immediately. I just sat in my car, staring at the door. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Finally, I went in. Checked everything. Closets, bathroom, kitchen. Under the bed. Nothing. No sign of anyone. I told myself it was a glitch. It had to be. That night, I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., I woke up. No reason, just that feeling. Like something had changed. I walked into the living room. That's when I noticed it. The camera. It was tilted downward. I never touched it. I opened the app again. No alerts. But there was a new clip. 2:07 a.m., motion detected. I didn't remember getting that notification. I pressed play. The video showed me walking into the living room. But I remembered being in bed. In the clip, I walked closer to the camera. Slowly. Deliberately. Then I leaned in. Close enough for my face to fill the screen. But something was wrong. I wasn't blinking. Just staring. Then I smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. And in a voice that sounded like mine. But slightly off. It said, I can come out when you're not here. But I like it more when you are. The clip ended. I didn't sleep after that. Not even for a second. The next morning, I unplugged the camera. Threw it away. Didn't think twice. I thought that would end it. But it didn't. Because last night, while I was brushing my teeth, my phone buzzed. I checked it. No notifications. But when I opened my gallery, there was a video. I didn't record it. 6 seconds long. I played it. Dark, grainy, inside my apartment. And then, my voice, right behind the camera, whispering, I don't need the camera anymore. And that's when I realized the camera wasn't the problem. It was just the first place. It chose to show itself. My supervisor asked why I was walking through the warehouse at 3:11 a.m. I told him I never left the office. If you're watching this alone, you might want to turn the lights on. This happened during my second week, working night security at a storage warehouse outside the city. No cameras inside the aisles. No coworkers. Just me, a radio, and a logbook. Every hour I had to patrol the building and write down time, location, anything unusual. At first, it was the easiest job I'd ever had, until the logbook started writing things I hadn't done yet. My shift started at 11 p.m. and ended at 7 a.m. The warehouse had 3 sections: front office, storage floor, and loading dock. The storage floor was the worst. No windows, endless shelves, and lights that never fully reached the corners. On my 4th night, something small happened. At 1 a.m., I finished my patrol and wrote, "All clear." Nothing unusual. At 2 a.m., I got up for the next round. Before leaving, I glanced at the logbook. There was already an entry. 2:14 a.m., checked rear door. I froze, because it was still 2:03 a.m., and the handwriting was mine. Exactly mine. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember if I wrote it earlier. I hadn't. The time didn't even match. I scratched it out, closed the book, and told myself I messed up. Then I started my patrol. Everything felt normal, until I reached the loading dock. The rear door was slightly open. That never happens. I always lock it. Always. I walked closer, pushed it shut, checked the lock. It clicked. Then I noticed something else. The floor near the door had marks. Not footprints, not dirt, just darker lines, like something had been walking there, over and over again. I didn't stay long. I went back to the office, checked the time, 2:16 a.m. Then I looked at the logbook again. The entry I scratched out was back. Clean. Untouched. 2:14 a.m., checked rear door. I didn't write it, but it was there. The next night, I tested it. I took a photo of the empty logbook at the start of my shift. No future entries. Nothing weird. At 2 a.m., I checked again. A new line had appeared. 2:22 a.m., still inside. Still inside. That's not something I'd ever write. I grabbed the radio. Control. Is anyone else in the building? Static. Then a voice. My voice. Repeating. Still inside. I dropped the radio. Turned it off. But for a second, I could still hear it. After that, the entries got worse. Every night. The log updated before I moved, predicting where I'd go, what I'd check, what I'd see. But sometimes, it wrote things I never did. One night it said, 3:11 a.m., checked aisle 7. I never go to aisle 7, ever. There's something about that place that feels wrong. But that night, I couldn't ignore it. I went, slowly. Aisle 7 was darker than the others. Even the lights felt weaker there. Halfway down, I heard something. A shift. Between the shelves, then footsteps. Behind me, I turned around instantly. Nothing. Empty aisle. Then the radio turned on by itself. You're not where you're supposed to be. I ran. Back to the office. Didn't look back. The final night, everything changed. At 2 a.m., the log updated again. But this time, it didn't predict movement. It gave an instruction. 2:30 a.m., exit building. I stared at it. I wasn't planning to leave. At 2:27 a.m., I heard the rear door open. From inside, Then footsteps, walking across the loading dock, coming closer. I grabbed the logbook and watched as a new line appeared. The pen moved on its own. 2:31 a.m. Only one of you leaves. I didn't think. I ran straight to the front door. But before I got there, I heard it. Footsteps. Right behind me. Matching mine. Perfectly. When I stopped, they stopped. When I moved, they moved. But I never turned around. I couldn't. I reached the exit, pushed the door open, and ran outside. I didn't stop until I reached my car, locked myself inside, breathing hard. I looked back at the building. Everything was quiet again, like nothing happened. The next day, my supervisor called me. He sounded confused. "Why didn't you log your exit?" I told him I did. He paused, then said, "There's only one entry, 2:31 a.m. exit building." My stomach dropped. Because I didn't write that, then he said something worse. "The handwriting isn't yours." I didn't ask what it looked like, because I already knew it was the same handwriting from the entries I never wrote. And the last thing I remember hearing, before I ran, was my own voice, walking behind me. And I still don't know if I left that building alone. On my third night working alone, the logbook didn't just record what happened, it wrote something else. Something that hadn't happened yet, but still did. I took a night shift job at a small, private clinic on the outskirts of the city in early 2025. It wasn't a hospital, more like a quiet, overnight facility for patients who needed monitoring. There were no doctors at night, just one nurse and me. My job was simple. Sit at the front desk, check cameras, and update the logbook every hour. Time, location, notes. That's it. For the first 2 nights, nothing happened. Everything was quiet, predictable, easy money. Until the third night. My shift started at 11 p.m. The nurse on duty that night was someone I hadn't met before. Her name was Kavita. Quiet, kept to herself. At exactly 12 a.m. I wrote my first log entry. All normal. Nothing unusual. At 1 a.m. same thing. At 2 a.m. something changed. When I opened the logbook to write the next entry, I noticed something already written there. Kosanam, patient in room 3 stopped breathing. I froze, because it was only 2:05 a.m., and the handwriting was mine. Exactly mine. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember if I wrote it earlier by mistake. I hadn't. And more importantly, there was no emergency. Everything was quiet. I stood up and walked toward room 3. The hallway felt colder than usual. When I reached the door, I paused, then slowly opened it. The patient was lying there. Still, breathing normally. Machines working fine. I stood there for a few seconds, just watching. Nothing was wrong. I went back to the desk and crossed out the entry. Told myself it was a mistake. But at exactly 2:17 a.m., the monitor alarm went off. Sharp, sudden, I ran back to room 3. The patient wasn't breathing anymore. Exactly like the logbook said. That's when I stopped treating it like a coincidence. The next entry appeared at 3:00 a.m. I didn't write it. I didn't even touch the book. But it was there. 3:26 a.m., nurse leaves the building. I looked up instantly. Kavita was still there, in the hallway, doing her rounds. Everything normal. I didn't say anything. I just watched the clock. 3:10, 3:18, 3:24. At 3:26 a.m., the front door opened. I turned. Kavita walked out, calm, silent, didn't look at me, didn't say anything, just left. I ran after her, opened the door. No one outside. Empty road, no footsteps. No sound. She was just gone. I went back inside slowly, heart racing, and then I saw her, standing at the end of the hallway, looking at me. Same uniform, same face, but she never left. I didn't say anything, didn't ask anything. I just went back to the desk, because at that point, I already understood something. There were two versions of things happening. The one I saw, and the one the logbook wrote. And the logbook was always right. At 4 a.m. I didn't wait anymore. I opened the book before the hour changed. And I saw it. The next entry. Already written. 4:12 a.m. Security guard does not leave. My hands went cold, because that security guard was me. I looked at the clock. 4:05 a.m. 7 minutes. I stood up immediately, grabbed my keys, started walking toward the exit, but halfway there, I heard footsteps behind me. So, dragging, I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because I already knew what I'd see. Another me, walking, patching my steps. Closer, I reached the door, grabbed the handle, pulled. It didn't open. The lock clicked, but the door didn't move. Behind me, the footsteps stopped. Right behind me, I could feel it. Standing there, breathing. Then, my voice, from behind me. Calm. Don't leave. I shut my eyes. Didn't move. Didn't turn. Because if I turned around, I knew I wouldn't be the one leaving. After a few seconds, everything went silent. When I opened my eyes, the door worked. I ran. Didn't stop. Didn't look back. I quit the next morning. Didn't explain anything. But 2 days later, I got a call from the clinic. They said, "Why didn't you finish your shift?" I told them I left at 4:10 a.m. They went quiet, then said something that made everything worse. "You didn't leave. There's footage of you, still sitting at the desk." At 6:58 a.m., looking straight into the camera, not blinking, waiting, and I still don't know which one of us actually left that night.